So I'm not going to spray his ankle, but I am going to put some heel and lace pads on, and I don't want to really grease his leg up, so hopefully, a little pro wrap. I'm just going to hold these on with the pro wrap, so they don't fall off, because I don't want to put grease all over his leg. So last time, I think we just did the leg anchors on here, and remember, don't go up into the muscle body. Keep down at the bottom of the calf flare and put your leg anchors there. So on his leg, they're going to be something like this, and on a nice angle like that, they'll come back to the beginning. Usually you only need 2 leg anchors, unless there's some behemoth football player, 250 pounds, and then you might want to have 3. So we would put 2 on the leg here, and then we have to put some forefoot anchors on, because we have some strips that go this way around the foot, and they need to be anchored as well. So if you remember last time, I said that you cannot put any tape within 1 inch of the 1st and 5th MTP joints. Okay, you got to keep the tape back, and you have to splay the foot before you put the tape down. So get those marks. Always go down the medial side first when you're putting these on. Just keep the tape off, and then stick your knuckle in the MTP joints here and just push it out wide, and just lay the tape on and tear it off. And you can see actually on his foot there's a gap in here that you can see, and that's okay. As long as he steps on it, then it tightens up, and that will tighten up the tape job. So don't worry if it gets really, really wrinkled here. We're going to be putting it on the sides. The danger area in putting tape on the foot is right in the back of the styloid process. So just so that I always know where that styloid is, I always put 1 4-foot anchor right on top of the styloid, and it's really just a landmark. So I don't want to put any tape pulling up hard in the back here. That becomes extremely painful. So we're ready now to do the closed basket weave tape job, and the closed basket weave, as the name implies, is an interlocking of strips. So we're going to put on a stirrup, which goes this way, and then a horseshoe, which goes this way 3 times, right? Horseshoe stirrup, horseshoe stirrup, horseshoe stirrup. And then we wind up with these strips all interlocked on one another, and that's where the strength of the tape job comes from. Another principle: always make sure that the tape is on the right position with respect to the injured ligaments on the injured side of the ankle. Today we're going to tape for an inversion sprain, and that means that my stirrups, which are going up and down here, have to be over the anterior fibers, or the anterior ligament, the ATFL, or anterior talofib, and I also want them going straight up, and I want another one just back here so that I ensure that I've got the calcaneofibular ligament supported as well. Remember that the tape that we're putting on has to support the injured ligaments, or the ligaments that we don't want to get injured if it's a prophylactic tape job. So now there's different ways that you can do this. When you first start, you might want to measure and put some strips down on the table so you don't have to worry about trying to tear them. As you get better, you'll just do it on the leg, but But having the strips already when you first start helps you get them into the right position. So what's a really good idea is to try and make all of your stirrups pass underneath on the heel. Okay, under the bottom of the foot on the heel pad, which means that they have to fan forward in order to get over all of the ligaments. Where the first one goes isn't too important. But here's another thing. As I look at the foot, his foot is not in neutral position here. And you have to tape in neutral position. If his foot is there, and I put a bunch of straps around here and pull his tibia and fibula towards one another, and then he goes and jumps down on it, I drive the wedge of the talus bone in and break both the malleoli off. It's called a bimalleolar fracture, and it happens often with poor taping jobs. In the lecture, I'll show you another guy with a fractured leg from poor taping as well. So when it takes you 27 seconds, it's not that hard. Not that hard to get the tape job done, but when you're learning to do it, I would suggest that you just take your roll of tape, pull off around 5 feet or so, and then fold it in half, sticky side, and just do that. And then you can hook it on the big toe, and it's his job to keep it in neutral position. Now he has to keep his foot in neutral position, and I can tape away in here and this thing doesn't bother me at all, but I know it's going to be in the right position. If you want to use this on the taping exam, go ahead. That's perfectly all right. So I'm going to put the first stirrup on, and I'm not too concerned where this one goes because I can always adjust with the ones that come on afterwards. So I'm on the heel, that's good. Now I'm just going to put the one on the medial side onto the leg and smooth it down. So this is a lateral sprain or an inversion sprain. And when the sprain is on the lateral side, you pull up hard on the stirrups. Okay, so if the sprain is on the lateral side, pull up on the lateral side. And then I'm going to put my horseshoe on, and I want the horseshoe also to make sure that it covers ligamentation above the malleolus and down to the base of, there's the point of his malleolus right there. So I want my horseshoes to go from there down to about there. That's where the ligaments are, underneath the malleolus. It's no use having horseshoes are way down there. They're not helping anything. There's no ligaments down there. So again, I'll get my first one on, find the point of his malleolus, put one just a little up above, and as you can see, this horseshoe is perpendicular to his leg, and that's important. When people start taping, it seems that they have a tendency to put these on an angle like that. And if this were a ligament, this would stop the foot from plantar flexing. The steeper the angle, the more it prevents the foot from coming down here, which is plantar flexion, which you need to be able to do when you jump and run. So if I can keep these things perpendicular, they will not prevent the athlete from plantar flexing and dorsiflexing. Will give them a greater range of motion, which is one of the problems with this particular tape job. So this I want to keep nice and perpendicular here. I'll put my next one on just a little bit more forward from that one. And again, pull up on the lateral side. You see that foot evert just a little bit when I give it a tug. Lay another horseshoe on. And a third stirrup, which theirs is malleolus. I've got good coverage in front of the malleolus now. I just want to put one a little bit back. And if I want to go back on the lateral side, then I start forward on the medial side, which you will find when you start taping. And that up. And one more horseshoe, which I'm just going to put the third one down here. Keep it perpendicular again. And just let the tape go where it has to go by the shape of the foot on this side over here. We don't really care where it goes on this side, but we certainly want to make sure that we have our basket supporting the injured ligaments on the lateral side. So that's the basket. That's the first thing. Anchors, build the basket, close it down, close it back. So now I'm just going to start here and half overlap my tape. And as I come down here, I can change the angle a little bit because the flare is less steep. Next, I'm going to be on the heel and lace pads here. So I don't want to start and stop on the heel and lace pads because this just shifts around and the tape job loses some of its structural integrity. So what I'm going to do is I would normally start my tape here, give myself a little extra, and start over here on the stirrups, which are anchored. Notice the angle of my tape is now reversed because I'm going out onto the malleoli here. And that's about as far as I need to take the tape down. And then I'm going to close it back. Don't need tension on this at all because we want the foot to be comfortable after the tape job. Got a little strip here of blue showing up, which really represents just skin. So we can just put some cosmetic strips up here and fill that in so it looks better. They're not going to affect anything. So that's the most of the tape job is done. Yeah, again, we had our leg anchors and forefoot anchors, built the basket, and then closed it all in. Some people do the heel locks first. I do the heel locks last because I want them to be done on something that's really quite rigid and supports them. The heel locks are the hardest part to do and to get. The wrinkles free, pretty difficult because we're going to go down like this and around the heel and back up again so that we grab the calcaneal tuberosity here and kind of pull it in this direction, and then we put one on the other side and grab it and pull it back, and that way we wind up with these two straps that grab the calcaneus and hold it there. And then by locking it in that neutral position, it can't roll. We can't invert or evert. And so these are very important. In the books, they show doing continuous heel locks where you start with a figure 8 and then you put one on that side and just keep going with them. And you know, you can, if you're serious about working with athletes or you're going to be coaching, it might be a good idea to learn so that you get good enough to be able to do continuous heel locks. Makes things a little bit stronger. To begin with, or for the exam, you can do them one at a time if you wish. And I'll just give you a couple of landmarks. But once again, you're just going to go down the side of the leg, loop it around the back of the heel, and come back up the same side. So it goes down and back up the same side. Find the point of the malleolus and this bump on the back of the heel. There's always a little bump back there. And we can use that bump to change the direction of the tape without it wrinkling. So I'm going to take this edge of the tape that's closest to me as I'm taping, and I'm going to put it right on the peak of the lateral malleolus and make it hit the middle of that bump. That puts the tape at about a 45-degree angle, like that. So those are the two landmarks. And then I just hit that bump, keep some tension on the tape, and it'll flip around and come back up here with virtually no wrinkles in it. Same landmarking on the other side. This one's on a better line, so I could actually take this one and I could do continuous heel locks with it, like that, and go around, okay? So the heel locks, and we would do 2 heel locks on each side, okay? 2 on each side, and this one, going up and down on the lateral side, is always the first one. Doesn't matter what side of the ankle is sprained. The best idea is to put this one on first. If it's a lateral sprain, which we're just spraining for, then it's a good idea to take this calcaneus and really lock it out into eversion and then bring it back with the second one. So it makes sense. It's a bit counterintuitive if it's an eversion sprain on the medial side to be pulling it. You would think that would actually hurt the ligaments on the medial side. But if I do the medial one first and bring it around and put some tension to try and support the medial ligaments, I'm actually compromising the lateral side of the ankle when I do that. And from the lecture, you know that there's miserable ligamentation on the lateral side. And if I compromise its position, chances are this guy's gonna go over on the lateral side and then have both sides of his ankle sprained. So what we do, even if the sprain is on the medial side, I'm just going to put this without any tension and just kind of try and hold it in that neutral position and then lock it in neutral position with the one going down. This one I am going to put under tension and pull it hard against the first one so that it's locked there. And then just do 2 more the same way, 1 on each side. So do 2 on each side, and that's the end of the closed basket weave tape job. Okay, that's pretty much it. These are the things that we will check when we come to tape in the taping exam, when we're going to mark it. When we come around, the first thing we'll do is take the foot and put it into neutral position and see whether the tape bunches up here. Because if the tape bunches up here, that means that you taped it down here somewhere, and then when you bring it back, it all squishes together. So that's how I can tell whether or not you taped it in neutral position. So you can't kind of fudge that. You've got to make sure that you're doing it properly. There has to be room in the forefoot for the metatarsal heads to splay out. Can't be within an inch here of the edge. So all these little things that we'll check initially, and then take the tape job apart and have a look at it to make sure that all the rest of it is in good shape as well. So I'm just going to spend a second and take this thing apart, and we can see what his skin looks like without even getting up and running around. When you're taking tape off, it's a really good idea to hold the skin and reflect the tape back on itself and pull this way. Now, if you lift and pull, you might be able to see you could see it certainly on the others. There's a bit of a corner here, but if I lift straight up, I don't know whether you can see can't really see it too much, but on your partner, you'll notice that if you do this, the skin lifts up with the tape. And if you're taping them a lot, remember I told you can get a breakdown of the collagen, and it's when you pull out like that you pull the little buttons of skin off. If you can always just remember to reflect the tape back on itself and hold the skin to keep it flat, you won't have any problems with that. Well, you can certainly see some red stuff here. Okay, and when you get red like that, it's a bit of reactive hyperemia from the pressure of the tape, and it's okay. It's a bit disappointing. There aren't any big grooves in his skin from a wrinkle in there, so I can't really show it to you. The last couple that I've done, I've managed to get some nice grooves in the skin here from a little wrinkle in the tape, and it stays for a long time, and that's without doing anything. And those wrinkles have a tendency to work against the skin and break it down over a period of time. So don't worry too much if they're a bit pink in these areas. There has to be some pressure because of the tape job. That's okay. Anybody have any questions?